Welcome to Sky High Coaching Conversations. I'm Janelle Ryan, global personal coach and author of Become Extraordinary, joining you from the coastline of Australia. This podcast is raw and unedited, just like life. I work with high-performing professionals, entrepreneurs, and elite athletes who are ready to expand their minds into new ways of thinking, create what once felt impossible, and lead themselves and others with confidence. If you're a self-led human who loves growth, truth, intuition, and a lot of laughs, you're in the right place. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in.
Hello, I'm Janelle Ryan. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. I want to talk about something today that I see everywhere in women's lives, and yet we almost never name it properly. It's that moment when you know exactly what you want to say. Maybe you've even rehearsed it in your head. The moment arrives and nothing comes out. You know those moments when your mind goes blank, your body tightens up, and afterwards you replay the conversation thinking, why didn't I just say it? Oh my gosh, I've had more than a few of those moments. And one example that really stands out happened years ago when I was still working in the corporate world. I was going to a meeting where we were breaking up a pie, for want of a better analogy. We're breaking up a pie into pieces, and every single person in that room wanted their slice of the pie. We were there to negotiate. I knew I had to be really clear on what I wanted before I went into the meeting, and I made sure I was. Before I walked in, I knew why I was there, I knew what I wanted, I knew what I was negotiating for. But as the meeting progressed, there was a woman in the meeting who I thought was my ally. And she spoke before me, and it became very apparent very quickly as she was speaking that she was not my ally. She wanted her slice of the pie, and you know what? She wanted some of my slice too. And it shocked and surprised me. In fact, I became so, shall we say, emotionally activated that when it was my turn to speak, my body just shut down. I froze. And it wasn't subtle, it was really obvious. I could not speak. In fact, I was so emotionally upset, so triggered, if you would like to use that word. I stood up and I walked out of the meeting. I didn't say what I wanted to say. I didn't say what I should have said. And afterwards, oh my gosh, I felt like I'd let myself down, my boss down. In fact, I felt like I'd let my entire team down. But this freeze doesn't only show up in our workplaces, does it? It shows up socially too. Like another time, I was telling a woman who I actually love and adore a story that I genuinely thought was hilarious and thought highlighted my kindness, right? And after I delivered the punchline, she looked me straight in the eye and said, "You're a bitch." No curiosity, no questions, just a judgment. And what struck me afterwards wasn't just what she said, it was how quickly I went quiet. I didn't say, wow, that landed differently than I expected. I didn't say or ask, oh, what made you hear it that way? I didn't say anything at all. I froze. And then there are our romantic moments. Now, if you know me, if you've known me for a while, if you've followed me for a while, I make no secret of the fact romantic relationships were challenging for me for a really long time. I have been in multiple conversations with partners, and here's the thing, some of them truly cared about me, while others didn't, where I froze instead of saying what was true. So it made no difference if I knew this person cared about me or not. I would still sometimes freeze instead of speaking my truth. You know those moments where you've planned a surprise romantic dinner, it's all prepared, you're excited for your partner to come home, and then they text you at the last minute when they're supposed to be leaving work and say, I've decided to go out for drinks with my colleagues, I'll be home late, and you don't say a word. So some would say that's maybe a low stake moment, but there's high stake moments too. I was in one situation, I did not say what I wanted to say to a partner for months. I was silent for months. And I only eventually spoke up after I'd done some work on this with a coach. And I'm really happy that I did, by the way. And what about our family? Family events and conversations. How many times have you not said something you wanted to say to keep the peace? Now, if you're nodding along as you're listening to this, chances are your own examples are already coming to mind. You know those times when someone asks you if you would like some help and you say no, even though you would have. When someone asks you to do something you do not have time for and you hear yourself say yes. Or when your boss asks you where you see yourself in a few years' time and you say, well, you don't say, you say nothing, or you make something up, instead of saying, well, actually, I want your job or your boss's boss's job or your boss's 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 job. And then afterwards, we're annoyed, aren't we? We're so annoyed. We're annoyed at them. We're annoyed at ourselves. We're annoyed at the situation. Those moments where you didn't speak and later thought, why didn't I say something? So I really want to talk about how else this pattern plays out in business, in the workforce, in your career. And here's the thing, I'm not telling you anything right now that you don't already know. You will know this. There is so much research around how women tend to feel women tend to wait, Women tend to wait until they feel 100% ready for a role before they'll apply for it. Men don't. And then we look around and we wonder how they ended up in charge. So this is the real question. Why do intelligent, capable, thoughtful, often high-performing women go quiet in moments that actually matter? And just as importantly, why is it so unpredictable? One day, I can silence my husband's mansplaining with one look, right? And other days, I protest something and I sound so shrill, even to myself, a la Monica from Friends. So hubby will be mansplaining something. I give him a very subtle look and he says, oh, am I mansplaining again? And I nod and he apologizes and stops. And then other times we're in a different conversation and I'm thinking I'm, eloquently about to speak my truth or my opinion, and it comes out so shrill that I stop myself. I even hear it and say to him, oh, that was really shrill, wasn't it? And he nods. So why can we speak clearly one day and freeze the next? Now, I'm going to pause here for a moment because if this conversation is landing, I have something that will really help you, something of value. I've created a complimentary resource called the Unshakable Woman Blueprint. Now, it has tools, it has techniques to help you start responding differently in these moments. You'll find the link in the show notes, and it's a really powerful place to begin. Now, let's come back to the bigger picture. Why is not speaking actually a problem? Beyond it being annoying and frustrating and irritating. It's a problem because the world runs on agreements. Families run on agreements. Workplaces, businesses, organisations run on agreements. Relationships My husband and I have built a marriage on agreements. Systems, communities, governments, religions, all agreements, even money. Way back in the day, someone decided that this shiny coin would be of the same value as someone's pail of milk. It was an agreement. And if you've worked with me before, you'll know I live a life of agreements. I don't love expectations. They're really dangerous, but that's a conversation for another day. Here's the thing. Most of us women were never taught how to make agreements from our own desires. We grew up in a world where the rules were already written. What was expected, what was appropriate, what was considered too much. And for many of us, those rules were very different to the ones our brothers were given. We were often taught, subtly or directly, to be polite, accommodating, and to be quiet. Not cause trouble, not make things awkward, definitely do not take up too much space. Now, none of this was malicious and none of it makes us weak. What it does mean is that many women never learned how to say clearly and calmly, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what doesn't work for me. Now, it's really important to say the world is changing now, and young women, young ladies, young girls are being raised differently, and that's a good thing. But many of us are operating with older conditioning. Now, that's no one's fault. It's just the way it was. And yet here we are. We have our own dreams, our own desires, our own goals and vision for our lives, our work, our families, our businesses, our careers. Many of us lead teams. Many of us run businesses, run organisations. Many of us hold communities and families together. We want to be able to make agreements with others that bring our desires to life as well. And that requires something very specific. We have to be able to voice them, and we have to be able to rely on ourselves to do so. Because when we can't, we lose power. Now, when I talk about taking your power back, this is where we need to slow down. Because before we can do that, we have to be really clear on what power actually is and what it isn't. Power is not confidence. You can feel confident and still freeze, stay silent. Power is not courage. You can be brave and still override yourself. And power is not being loud, dominant, and it's definitely not control. Now, if you've done the Cosmic Heart with me, my relationship course, you'll have heard me talk about control and manipulation before. They can work in the short term, sometimes very effectively, but they never work in the long term. Control just costs too much. It takes a lot of energy. You've got to be watching all the time. You have to be monitoring them. You have to be assessing if what they're doing is what you want them to do. And then you've got to work out how you're going to control them and manipulate them to get back to where you want them to be. Like, it's just so much energy, and it takes a lot of time. And also, more importantly, you lose the other person's goodwill. You lose their intelligence. You lose their creativity. Like I said, you have to stay on top of it constantly, and it's exhausting. And only one of two things can happen from control and manipulation. One, they stay with you, but they check out of the relationship. They're not invested. They're not with you. They're there because they can't see a way out, because you've done a really good job of control and manipulation. Or two, there's an uprising, they revolt, and they do exit stage left. It also isn't the inner work journaling, yoga, walking in nature, Pilates, breathwork. Don't get me wrong, I love all those things. They help me, feel grounded, relaxed, centered, and clear. But that's not power. And it doesn't always translate into speaking when it matters. Power isn't a feeling you generate inside yourself. Power can only exist inside a dynamic. So it requires another person. Power exists in relationships. It's an influence, which means it shows up between people. Power is being able to influence an outcome to create an agreement that works for both parties. Influence doesn't force, it invites. And something that is really exciting is it often creates a third possibility, something that neither of you could have imagined on your own, because now we've got creative, intelligent, resourceful people connecting. Real power is being able to stay present in that moment, to know what you want and to rely on yourself to speak, even when it's uncomfortable, imperfect, or risky. I am definitely not perfect when I'm recording this podcast, right? We're not chasing perfectionism here. If this conversation has resonated for you, I invite you now to grab your journal or open up your notes on your phone or your laptop and note down now the insights you've noticed, your aha moments, whatever it is that came up for you. Get them down on some kind of format now, and then think about what you want to do with those insights. Now, next week, we're going to continue this conversation. We're going to talk about why or how, I think why is the right word, why I can take my intelligent, bossy, border collie, boisterous, border collie, male, I think that might be an important piece as well, on a walk, and he will stick to the footpath unless he sees one of our neighbours' cats, this big female cat. If she's lying in the middle of the footpath, having a nice nap in the sun, he stops quite a way back from her. He cowers a little, and then we have to take a very wide berth around her. It's like he's terrified. He won't go near her. And that cat has not moved, may have opened one eye and looked at him, but the important piece is it's never said a word. So here's the thing. All living creatures communicate. Only humans have language. Huge amounts of what we say happens non-verbally, and it goes far beyond body language. So we're going to continue this conversation next week. We're going to move into energetic communication. The way someone's physical presence can soothe or disconnect you before they've said a word. If this conversation has awakened something in you, if you want to learn how to do this with me as your coach, not in theory, but in real conversations with real people, my brand new program, the Soft Strength Salon, is where we are going to learn and practice embodying it. It's a 6-month space where we work slowly and precisely on this exact capacity, learning how to speak reliably, how to stay with discomfort, how to make clean, honest agreements at work, at home, in your business, in your wider life. If something in you is leaning in as I say that, you'll find the details in the show notes. Thank you for being here today. Until next time, Keep expanding, creating, and leading. And remember, you'll need your voice for that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you for being here for another Sky High coaching conversation. If today expanded something in you, trust it and allow it to lead you to your next step. Take what landed, leave what didn't, and keep creating the life and vocation that feels unmistakably yours. Until next time, keep expanding, keep creating, and keep leading with clarity, courage, and a little magic.